This meeting will be publicized. I'm going to suggest that with the amendments that we've made today, that this could be our last meeting if we vote on the charter as we have just made all these amendments. And I would also suggest that I'm going to ask each person to vote and welcome them to make comments on the charter that they think are, whatever comments they think are important to make those, this is a good time to do it so that each of us can give maybe a slightly different perspective on things. And although the alternates don't get to vote, I think it's only fair that they also get to give comments on the charter as well. Okay? So, is there a motion to vote on this charter as it is? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, let's call the question. Okay? Camilla, you're first.
What an amazing process. It's been almost, 18 months? 18 months. Everybody is still living. No one has been attacked or hurt in this process. So I'm extremely grateful and honored to be a part of such a great body of people with a wealth of knowledge and skills and ability. I believe everyone has voiced their opinions and concerns in regards to the overall quality of the product that is now produced, and hopefully we will accept and adopt in totality. I must say I initially was not in favor of all of the components, such as the districting and the redistricting and voting at large. However, I do believe we have a great combination of both. I believe it is representative of both aspects. I do also believe that a charter form of government serves as a great governmental structure that will further support the growth and the needs of Charles County. I also do believe that having 5 commissioners as opposed to 1 executive does cause for some egos to get in the way at times. I do believe having 1 person as the face in Annapolis would serve Charles County well. I do believe that as a whole, I think we came up with a great product. It's not long. I encourage all of the audience to read it. It's only, 20 pages? Are we at 20 pages?
25, 26.
25, 26 pages. I am in favor of it, and my vote would be for us to move forward with it as well.
Orlando?
Yes, I just want to say thank you to everybody. And I really appreciate the opportunity because it was a great experience. I have learned so much from the speakers that we have for the past year and a half, and also from each of you guys. And I think this is a great document, and it serves the purpose for the better of Charles County. And yeah, I'm in favor.
Okay. Dante?
I want to take a moment to first and foremost thank the members of this committee and staff for the work that we've done collectively. I'm proud of what we've done. We worked, I think, as effectively as any governing body, locally or state, and perhaps even nationally, to put together a product that serves the citizens best. I think what we've engaged in terms of how we viewed a great many of these issues was very selfless. That I firmly believe that each and every one of us, from our perspectives, looked at what we thought was best for the citizens of the county. Where I've been challenged in this process is a certain level of conscious ignorance with regard to what we've done in our community. And when the integrity of the members, either individually of this board or collectively, have been challenged. We come from different perspectives with different backgrounds, but we put those things aside, and I think we did the very best job we could writing this document. Is this document perfect? No. Did anybody in this room get every single thing they wanted out of this document or they thought would have been best for the county out of the document? No. But that's what government should be about, the way that we compromise and move forward for the best interest of this county or whatever the jurisdiction may be. I've lived under 2 forms of charter government prior to coming to Charles County. And do those governments work perfectly? No. But what I am clear of as a citizen in living under that form of government is that if I have an issue with what is being done, I can challenge the person with my vote who's responsible for executing laws because I know who that person is. And I can challenge the person or people responsible for making those laws because I understand the function of government that exists that does that. The way that we've done things here in the 10 years that I've been here seems to be very obfuscated, where one day you're wearing the hat of the executive, one day you're wearing the hat of the legislative body, and I think that is quite confusing, quite candidly. I'm going to stop there because I could opine probably for another 30 minutes about what we've done and how we've looked at a great number of challenges with respect to government. I think we have put forward a 21st century charter that is lean and mean, and it's a living document, much like I think our founders did with the Constitution, where there's great room for growth in it. But there's certainly some clear principles that have been laid out with respect to how we envision a government moving forward in the 21st century. So I wrap up again with what I started with, and that is to thank each and every person at this table and every member of staff for the work that we've done.
And you're in favor.
And I am in favor.
Paula?
I actually wrote my remarks.
How many pages?
That's always a good idea.
Bear with me. I appreciate the opportunity to have served on this charter board and to have served with this group of concerned citizens who have seriously and thoughtfully deliberated and negotiated over the past year and months. Thanks also to the staff who have supported our deliberations. And also thanks to the citizens who took the time to review the proposed charter and speak to us. Your comments were helpful and led to changes and clarifications. I applaud all the county commissioners, all of them, who recognized the need for the county to move forward and voted unanimously. Let me underline that. The commissioners voted unanimously to designate this board to create a charter. It wasn't, is a charter a good idea? To create a charter. Every past and current public official who spoke to our board favored a charter form of government, every one of them. As we progressed through this process, I became more convinced that Charles County could benefit from a charter form of government. I think we could probably agree that the government we have is not the example of an effective and efficient functioning government. And we have no guarantees that we won't have more of the same. Charles County deserves better. My reasons for supporting the charter form of county government: first is separation and distribution of powers. The government of Charles County is complex enough and that executive and legislative powers should be separate. Charles County employees need one boss, not 5 as with the current form of government. One commissioner referred to the current situation as the 5-headed monster, and I agree. Imagine having 5 bosses of equal power. What do you do if one wants you to do something and another wants you to do something else? Second reason, and this is not only my idea, but in probably the best as Ernie's, checks and balances. This charter mandates checks and balances. Today, all the power rests with the county commissioners. With a charter government, the power is balanced between the executive and the council and is not concentrated in one entity like it is today. Third reason is representation. This charter provides district representation and at-large representation, allowing for a better balance and a blend of both local and countywide interest. With an eye to the budget, we did not create additional commissioners. Citizens can do that at a later date if they so wish. Cost. The fourth reason is cost. When you consider that the Charles County budget is approaching $350 million, the cost of a county executive is negligible. Increased costs are about 2/100%. Not 2%, 2/100. Is that right? Is that the same thing you said earlier? Yeah. Minuscule. Yeah, minuscule. As you may remember, the current commissioners voted to increase the funds for a study from $250,000 requested to $1 million. A $750,000 increase with no clear idea of where the funds were to come from. The cost of a charter government are far less than this one study. We drafted the charter with an idea of cost containment to the most degree possible. We were conscious of costs and reduced the salary and benefits of the council since their functions were reduced to legislative functions. The salary of the county executive is in line with many, and I mean many, other executive level salaries in Charles County, the Sheriff's Department, the Board of Education, and the leadership in individual Charles County schools. It is my opinion that when one considers the scope of duties for the executive, the salary is reasonable, not excessive. I want the county to be competitive and able to attract the most capable executives. I would only vote for an executive who would be cognizant of a budget and be fiscally conservative. And last but not least, as we discussed tonight, debt. With an eye towards fiscal solvency, we have restricted the county debt to lower than allowed by state law and other charter counties in the state. Charles County is a growing and modern county. It is ready for a more modern and more functional form of government than it has today. We can start to prepare now for the future, and Charles County citizens have the opportunity to do that with a vote for charter government. A charter government is called the people's government because it gives the people a constitution, and only the voters or the people can change the charter, not the council and not the executive. Today we get the government we vote on, and the commissioners decide to give us. As I have observed our county government over the past few years, I've become convinced that the system must be changed to prevent the type of situation we have now from occurring again. In my opinion, the status quo is not acceptable. I'm convinced that a charter government has the capacity to be more effective, responsive, and efficient. And as a member of the charter board, I'm voting to send this county charter to the county commissioners to place on the November 2014 ballot.
Thank you.
All right.
And that's why I support it.
All of that. Okay.
Well, I wrote my remarks too.
We got them nailed earlier.
You gotta cancel your dinner now. Cancel your dinner tonight.
Oh, my God.
Tomorrow night.
Blue dog.
Oh, God. I really don't have a lot to say. But
Really?
on a personal level, I would like to say that it has been a pleasure working with all the new people that I've met in this room. And I know there'll be some relationships that we have established that will go on beyond this room. I especially want to thank our staff, Barbara and Adam, Melanie, the cookie lady,
More than that.
And also like to thank the leadership of the charter board, Lynn and Camilla. I think we should give them a hand. I agree with a lot of what Paula said and what other people have said here. I would just like to note just a couple of things. And one is let's realize that for the first time in the history of this county, that we have district elections are available through this charter. People will have more direct input into who their representatives are, and they'll be able to hold them accountable. So that is one highlight, I think, of the charter. Also, whether the citizens realize it or not, if you approve this charter, you will take control of your government. You will determine how your government is run and how it functions and what it does and what it can't do. And the people of Charles County will have the ability, if things are not running right, you can change it. You can't do that now. You can't do that now. But under a charter form of government, if you want to throw the bombs out, you have the opportunity to do that or to change facets of the government. So I think those are just two of the things that I wanted to highlight. Like I said, I agreed with what most of the people have said. So with that, and I am also in favor of the charter.
Jim.
Also want to thank everybody. This has been a great opportunity and experience, and I think it's a document of good compromise, and I think it's good for Charles County moving forward. I agree with just about everything everyone already said before me, so just want to thank everybody, and I would be in support of the charter.
Like everyone, I do want to thank everyone that's on the board and the staff for helping us. It's been an interesting 18 months. I think if all of us were honest, we weren't quite sure what all this entailed when we came into this process. But I think we've all learned a lot, we've all grown a lot. I would definitely think that, you know, our job is done here. We've been here for 18 months, but now it's up to the voters. And I certainly hope that the voters of Charles County, the citizens of Charles County, get out, unlike they did unfortunately in June, and vote in greater number, make your voices heard. Please read the document, read it honestly. Don't listen to people who have an agenda one way or the other. Listen to you and what works for you as a citizen. See what works, what you like, what you don't like. The input is yours, the vote is yours, but you know, I think you see that the government we currently have is a mess. And I think the citizens of Charles County, current and future, deserve better. And I think this will go a long way into making that reality. And I would vote for the charter if I got a vote.
Well, I'll just be right up front and say I support the charter being on the ballot. And a lot of what I'm going to say has been said with maybe slightly different words. A couple of points I think haven't been made. But there's several significant benefits that accrue to the citizens of Charles County if we move to this charter government. One, it separates the legislative and the executive functions of government, providing checks and balances that are not available in Code Home Rule. And I think that is probably the single most important thing. There's another that's almost as important, and that is it provides a much more efficient form of county government for the employees of the government. They have one boss instead of 5. The boss they have is required to operate within the framework of the laws passed by the legislative branch. So he is not an uncontrolled individual. He has those controls placed on him by the council, but he is responsible to the employees for providing them with good, clear-cut guidance within the parameters set by the laws established by the legislature. So that is going to make the county much, much more efficient. Talking to members of the public, I have run into people who said, but you're giving one man too much power. I would say this to the public. You get the government you elect. If it is incumbent on the public to elect good political officers. If you elect the wrong guy, charter form would make you have a guy who's not a good officer be able to do a lot of damage much more efficiently than our present form of government has. But that's why it's incumbent upon the citizens of Charles County to get out there and vote and elect the right officials. So they approve the charter, they'll have a more efficient government, but they have the best government, they've got to respond to the elections. As written, this particular charter, the residents of the 3 council districts will get to elect their own council representative. That's been one of the things I've heard a lot about, and this charter does that for them. It doesn't do it quite as much as I wanted it to do it, but it does it. It provides them with one person representing their district in the council, and they select who that person is. And the last thing I'd like to make, the point I'd like to make, is the charter places fiscal constraints on the government which do not now exist. We have the only fiscal constraints on the Charles County government right now are those imposed by the state. They have policies, but policies, you know, they can get washed out in the next rainstorm. This will be law. They will have to live within those fiscal constraints. And if there's some reason why they simply cannot do it, then they have to go to the public to get relief from those fiscal constraints, and only the public can grant it. And I think the voting public does have enough sense to know what's real and important and what's not real and important. And I think with those fiscal constraints, our elected officials will have to ensure that they satisfy the needs of the county and not just the things that are nice to have, which I could list a few that I've been opposed to in the past. And I'm for it.
Well,
throughout this process, I think I've been the person who, on this council and in speaking to people about the charter, when asked whether I'm for or against a charter, I've tried to consistently say, well, I want to wait until the very end and see what's in the charter. I want to see what the final product is going to be. And I'm glad to say that I can wholeheartedly endorse the charter, that I intend to vote for the charter, and I intend to advocate for the passage of this charter for the following reasons. As many people have already said, but I want to underline, for the first time in Charles County, individual council members will be elected by district. And that reflects a desire I think has long been held by many county residents, and I know that's something we've heard. As Ernie said, I think that's probably one of the issues that was most difficult to reach compromise on. And I think that's the most reflective of the spirit of goodwill and compromise and reasonable debate that all of the members here of this have brought to that issue. And I think it reflects well on the process that we established and have undergone over the last 18 months. We've included significant restrictions on the county's ability to incur crushing levels of debt. We see state and local governments around the country who are facing very severe challenges because of the debt that they've accumulated. And we've taken, I think, very reasonable steps to restrict our government's ability to entertain and take on levels of debt that would fundamentally alter the quality of life that our children and future generations would have in Charles County. And I think that's a very positive selling point for the charter. On pensions, we've taken reasonable steps, reasonable mandates to ensure that county executive and county council fund the pension obligations they make to county employees, particularly police and fire. I think that's a moral obligation that they have to fund those pension obligations. That's an easy commitment to raise salaries for public employees in an election year. It's a much more difficult proposition to keep those obligations over the succeeding years. I think we've taken the strongest steps we can take to ensure that those obligations are met, and that's another very, very powerful point, I think, in favor of this document. And last is term limits and referendums. That will give voters more checks and balances on the actions that are taken by their elected officials. Overall, I think this is I refer to this and strongly believe that this charter document is a good government document, that it gives our residents in Charles County more say, more influence over how their government acts in their name, on their behalf. In my estimation, this document will make the county better organized, and I think what Ernie is referring to will give voters clear idea of responsibility for who's taking for actions that are taken by their government, and to assign them responsibility for those actions, whether they assign them credit or assign them blame. It's going to be easier for voters in Charles County to understand who has responsibility for the actions that's taken in their name by their government. That's going to make elections more legitimate, make our campaigns better, and it's a very positive thing for Charles County. I had said before, I want to thank Len and Camilla for their leadership. This has been a very volatile, a very dynamic process. I think everybody has come to this with glad heart and good intentions, and I especially want to thank Mr. Travala.
Yes.
I think his guidance on this has been outstanding. And he's very much given us guidance to lead us to our conclusions, but without pushing us in any particular way. Your guidance in this process for the last 18 months has been invaluable. And on behalf of it, I want to say appreciate it. And I intend to support it.
Since I'm the last one other than Len and Camilla, or you have already, I plan to support it. I would just like to say this. We get what we put into things. I think this group has done a very nice job at the task that was at hand. I thank Victor for having a good framework and to keep us on schedule. But I will say, a lot of the same things I've heard from when we went 3 to 5 commissioners, when we went 5 commissioners to president, when we went 5 commissioners president to code home rule. We need to make sure that the people get involved in this county. We need to make sure that you guys that are new have gotten involved, stay involved, bring other people involved. This county is only going to grow and only going to be better with the more people that are going to get involved. I've always said you can have 100 elected officials, but if they're not good and they don't have good intentions, you don't have anything that's any better. So I'm all for it. I think there are a lot of good checks and balances in here, but again, it's up to the people out there now to read it, to look at it, to ask the questions, to come vote, and also it's up for people to put their name in the hat to run for election. Because too many people want to sit back and complain in today's environment, and they don't want to take the plunge to run for election. So, you know, to that, I just say to the general public, you need to get involved, you need to stay involved, and you need to run for office. Thank you very much.
We wanted to write something that would give the authority to good elected officials to do good things and to limit the damage that unwise elected officials might do. I think we've done the best we could. I concur with everything everybody has said here, so I won't repeat it. I'm going to vote in favor of the charter, and I'm going to advocate for it. Advocate for it. I think it's a great document, and I think in terms of compromise, we've all talked about it. Nobody got everything they wanted, but our collective wisdom is pretty good. And my count is 9-0. Charter passes. The 22nd, we'll present it to the commissioners at noontime. Can everybody make it? Can't?